Court in the nation hearing the case of a Grand Rapids man who says he was beaten by undercover police officer in a case of mistaken identity.
Our PARSEGHIAN has been following this case and is live in the newsroom with what's being argued in this years-long legal battle. Aaron?
Derek, Janice, this stems back to 2014 when then-student James King was walking to work in Grand Rapids and was wrongfully identified by undercover police. He then says he was beaten unconscious. Now, after being acquitted of criminal charges, King sued the officers and has been trying to get them in court ever since.
The U.S. Supreme Court hearing oral arguments Monday in the case of Brownback v. King.
The emotional toll that this took on me is something that's ongoing, something that I'm still dealing with.
James King, who spoke with Fox 17 News back in February, is challenging protections government officials have after he says he was brutally beaten by members of a fugitive task force in Grand Rapids several years ago.
The issues before the court were very complex, but the story of what happened to James is not.
King's attorney, Patrick Giacomo, is asking for the Supreme Court to rule in their favor and give James his day in court.
And the real question in this case at this point is whether another special protection will be employed to shield all federal officials from accountability when they violate someone's constitutional rights.
It centers around the Federal Tort Claims Act, which King's legal team is arguing offers unfair protection to officers who violated James's rights during that incident in 2014.
They were pounding his fat head for no reason. They were being brutal.
When King says two men stopped him in the street asking for his name before reaching for his wallet. King thought he was being mugged, but later learned the men were undercover officers, part of a fugitive task force.
They were out of control pounding him.
They say King matched the description of a fugitive and resisted arrest.
I am hurt and confused by what has happened to me, and I know that it continues to happen to others. I cannot imagine how exhausted entire communities must feel being plagued with this for decades. I just want my day in court, that's all. And our civil servants being sheltered from accountability is fundamentally and morally wrong.
King's attorneys are hopeful he'll get that day after Monday's hearing.
We are very optimistic after the argument today that the justices will side with James King and that he will finally be able to get the officers to answer his complaint that he filed over 4.5 years ago. James overcame qualified immunity, as Patrick mentioned. Surely he should be able to overcome this additional loophole to accountability that the government is trying to create here.
Right now, the case has been submitted and in the hands of the Supreme Court justices to decide what they want to do with it. We'll keep you updated. Derek, Janice.